Hi, my name is Aaron, and today I'll be talking about what influenced my family to move up to Shenzhen. Starting off, I was born and raised in Hong Kong for about 10 years, so I've been living there for pretty much most of my life. Living in Hong Kong was kind of hard to be honest, since in Hong Kong you're mostly restricted to the same amount of area. There was nothing much to do there, and you would get bored really easily. Now, since my dad, his hometown was in Guangzhou, his business and most of his work is done usually in his office located in Guangzhou. So he would frequently have to travel the border, so I wouldn't get to see him much. He would usually go on days to weeks on end to not coming back. So my family decided that it would be much more efficient to move up to Shenzhen directly. Since after all, it just benefited my family, since it would also help my dad have to reduce the amount of times he would have to cross a border. You might be wondering why my crossing the border at the time was that bad. Before, you have to quarantine 14 days just heading down to Hong Kong, so it would be very inconvenient for him to travel up and down all the time. But you might be wondering, why choose Shenzhen when we could choose Guangzhou? Well, the answer to that is quite simple. It's basically because since Shenzhen is between Hong Kong and Guangzhou, if there were to be any emergencies or something had happened with one of our relatives back in China, we have a place to stay. There were also some political reasons that led to the decision to move, such as the raging violence and also destructivity of the protest. So that also leads to another reason why we moved up. Now, to end it with, we'll also have a short interview with my dad about the reasons why he decided to move me up to Shenzhen. Okay, so today here I'll be asking you a few questions about why did you move me to Shenzhen. My first question is, why did you make the decision that Shenzhen is definitely the place that you want to move to?
Oh, first, I've been doing business in China for more than 20 years now, and I witnessed the phenomenal economic growth in China, and I have the idea of moving to China a long time ago.
Certainly. Um, I heard that you bought an office in Guangzhou. Wait, what is that about?
Oh, actually, I had a business operation in Guangzhou since 2003.
I see.
And secondly, Guangzhou is the place I was born and grew up.
Right. Was there any other reason except for business and economy that you decided to move to Shenzhen?
Uh, Another big reason is I want you to have a life, to experience the lifestyle in China.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, did you think that Shenzhen will have continue its fast economic growth in the future with like companies?
Yes, definitely, because most of our high-tech company are investing in Shenzhen. They have been investing for a long time.
I see. Now, I got another question now. Well, what have you been doing for a living?
Um, my main business is investing. Invest in stock market and property market. Yeah.
I see. Do you think that by any chance it was a huge miracle that the Chinese economy went up?
Oh yes, definitely. It pulled billions of people out of poverty in less than half a century. This was never been seen in human history.
I see. Okay, thank you very much then. That'll be the end. So moving on to some of the historical factors of Shenzhen and Hong Kong, you can see that Shenzhen has really been successful in the past years, and this is mainly because of the SEZ, or also known as the Special Economic Zone. The SEZ is a zone where the economic trade is different from the other regions of the country. This made a really massive hit because this was established in 1980, and at the time China was still really poor. And in the first time in communism history, Chinese were allowed to go and work in in Shenzhen, and also foreign people were allowed to go into Shenzhen and work. Now, moving on to Hong Kong, you might be wondering why there's a border between Shenzhen and Hong Kong. This is mainly because of the SAR, or formerly known as the Special Administrative Region. This region is basically an area where the economic and also political system is different from the whole entire country. So, for example, China owns Hong Kong, but yet they have different laws. The establishment of the SAR is due to the Opium War that happened between Britain and also China. This was basically because of Britain selling narcotic drugs to China in a way to make profit, but China decided to confiscate all their trade. But Britain was making such good money, they refused to stop. So they both got into a war, with Britain winning and causing China to lose. Then the British decided to colonize Hong Kong as theirs in 1840. But then in 1980, they decided to hand it back to China, even though Hong Kong had already developed a whole entire new political and also economic system, which thus marks an SAR. Now, after that, moving on to some economic factors. So, due to the SEZ, China's economy had rapidly boomed since foreign people were allowed to go into work. So, this made the massive headlines, and more people then came to China, which is probably why the main reason we're here today. The main reason why I was born in Hong Kong was mainly because before 1980 and the success of Shenzhen, Hong Kong was one of the leading economic areas since it was a port zone and there are many companies that are coming into work there. Moving on to some geographical features. For example, Hong Kong has rather a bit more mountains compared to Shenzhen, and Shenzhen has much more land to build on compared to Hong Kong. But let's not forget about property prices. Now in Shenzhen we have tax and also property, and also because of the huge economic growth, the amount of property debt that Shenzhen is crazy. Some small apartments could go up to 3 to 4 million USD. Now, to conclude this, I also have prepared another short interview with my mom, and she'll be talking about some of the historical and also geographic features of Hong Kong. Yeah, can I borrow some of your time today to ask you some questions about the decision to moving to Shenzhen?
Yeah, hello.
Uh,
Okay.
So, one of my questions are like, what are some geographic features of Hong Kong that makes it different to Shenzhen?
香港深圳咧喺嗰個 geographic d i f 嗰度咧，香港嘅地方就比較細啲咯，咁同埋比較多山。但係而喺深圳嗰邊咧，就個地方比較大啦，平地嘅地方亦都比較多咯。咁呢度係嗰個地理環境個分別咯。
So do you think that the Opium War had something to do with some of the violence in Hong Kong?
個 Opium War 咧就發生喺百幾年前㗎啦。其實對呢個 violence 嚟講咧，就唔會有一個直接嘅影響喺裏邊咯。我自己個人覺得，所以我唔覺得有一個直接影響喺度。
Now, my next question is, what do you think was the main reason that caused like a massive increase in people and economy both in Shenzhen and Hong Kong?
兩個地方咧，咁喺人同埋個經濟個發展度咧有好大嘅increase 啦。因為香港咧就係主要係金融啦，金融比較重要啦，咁所以變咗好多人會走咗嚟香港嗰度去發展啊、工作啊，咁呢個亦都引入咗一堆人過嚟啦，咁而刺激到個經濟咯。咁至於深圳咧，早期嘅深圳咧係有好多工廠啊，好多城市發展啊，咁亦都令到呢個地方咧，亦都吸引咗好多外來嘅人去到呢個地方度居住啊、生活啊、工作，咁而亦都帶起咗佢嗰個當地嘅經濟咯。
Okay. If you had to choose to either live in Shenzhen or Hong Kong, which one would you rather prefer or choose, and also why?
咁兩個地方咧，深圳嘅環境咧就比較寬敞啦，城市嘅規劃亦都比較先進同埋做得好好啦，綠化方面。咁但係咧，因為我自己本身咧就喺香港出世嘅，咁所以變咗我自己對香港嘅環境啊比較熟悉啦，個文化又比較了解得多啲啦，咁變咗我自己如果要生活咧，我自己就喜歡留翻喺香港多啲咯。
Okay, so relating back to the geographic features and also like the development, like due to the geographic features of Hong Kong and Shenzhen, do you think it also has an impact on the development on either places?
咁兩個地方咧，好似頭先之前講過啦，其實深圳嘅呢個地方咧就比較大啦，咁所以變咗佢個發展空間仲可以仲有得持續繼續發展咯，因為佢個土地用途啊各方面都仲有好多未開發嘅地區咯。但係香港咧個地方比較細啦，咁所以變咗佢喺嗰個城市嘅規劃啊，或者要再去做一啲好大型嘅construction 啊嗰啲相對地就冇咁大空間可以再做到呢樣嘢咯，係啦。
Okay, then thank you very much. That should conclude the interview. Okay, then. Now, as you heard, Hong Kong has less flat land compared to Shenzhen and has more mountains and is completely surrounded by oceans. This made it hard for people to build buildings, which made Hong Kong a really cramped city. As you can see on Victoria Harbour, you can see that every single building there are really tall. It's usually because they don't have the power to build on mountains, and also they have lack of space to build on as well. This was also the major reason why the property prices gained much more higher worth in Hong Kong and also Shenzhen. So if you wanted an actually good house, you would probably have to go into a really, really rural area in order to stay there. Personally, I was born into a really rural area, so I had the first-hand experience of how it felt like living in a rural area. It was pretty much really dark at night and was quite scary, so that's why my family decided to move us back a bit more to a civilized town. Because back then, it was really hard to access and I'd be always late for school. But in Shenzhen, since Shenzhen is mainly flat land, they can build whatever they want onto it. So urbanization is really easy. And also, due to the huge amount of urbanization that's going on, they're starting to have to build on water as well, or also known as terraforming. Some of the geographic features of Shenzhen also made it really attractive to us. Since it had quite a bit of land and also had ocean, it really attracted us because me and my dad personally, we much rather live in a non-landlocked city or live in a place where there's water nearby. But to generalize this the whole entire story, I think that this overall story does apply to some of the other migrating families, well, probably mainly because of the economic factors of Shenzhen, because it provided so many job opportunities for people that were in deep poverty back in the mid-90s. Even though, yes, Shenzhen does have its ups and downs, and so is Hong Kong as well. I think that moving to Shenzhen was a really good decision and also benefited me as well. Thank you for watching this video.